Don't touch that dial. I'm Tino Martinez.
And I'm Jason Isringhausen.
Stay tuned for Cardinal Baseball 2002.
Bonnie? I can see maybe somebody watching the Flintstones, but my gosh, how can you not watch baseball on a cold day back at home? From Jupiter, Florida, the New York Mets and your St. Louis Cardinals. And now welcome to the broadcast booth. I'll be playing the role of Fred. This will be Barney, Wilma, and Pluto will be along a little bit later on. Let's talk baseball. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Andy Bennis looks better. He's pitching today.
Absolutely, Joe. And that's great news for Cardinal fans because Andy really worked hard to rehabilitate that knee, and it's translated in pitching much better.
So he looks different, and there are two different people that are going to be in that lineup from time to time. Two huge additions. One of them a position player, Tino Martinez. The other's Jason Isringhausen.
What a great job that Walt Jocketty did. They addressed the needs of the ball club with the retirement of Mark McGuire. You had to go get a proven hitter. This is not only a proven hitter, an RBI machine and a proven winner. The one ingredient we were lacking is that bona fide closer at the end of the cast, and we've got a good one in Jason Isringhausen, a power pitcher, 95 plus.
Okay, Fred. It's the Cardinals and Mets. Andy Bennis taking on the New Yorkers. Baseball coming your way on WV11 right after this. Hey, here's the fifth pitch of the sequence, and Gary Matthews Jr. strikes out. Al Raboski, sometimes in spring, guys get a little anxious, and the Cardinals run out there a little too quickly, and they came out there at 102 and first pitched at 103 when the game was supposed to start at 105. And here's the Chrysler Jeep starter, Andy Bennis.
Well, you see the numbers from last year, a year that Andy would like to forget, but a good start to this game with the strikeout of Matthews.
So that's the way it began. Two quick strikes, then a foul ball, then a couple of pitches out of the strike zone, then the strikeout. By the way, Andy Bennis is facing the Mets for the second time this spring. He took on the Mets in the Cardinals' first spring game up at their place. Here's Renteria circling the ball and throwing out Ordonez, who gets a taste of his own medicine. 2 up, 2 down, 2 quick ones from Andy Bennis. And here's the Southwest Airlines starting lineup for the Mets. Gary Matthews Jr., you know that. Ray Ordonez. Now Mike Piazza gets a nice hand. Then Jeremy Burnett, he's new. Jorge Toca, the first baseman. Joe McEwing at third. Darren Bragg, he's old. He's a former Cardinal. Then Jorge Velandia, the second baseman. And Satoru Komiyama. The Japanese Greg Maddux will be on the mound for the Mets today. Here's Piazza. There's a strike. 0-1.
See, Andy really is throwing strikes. He is changing speeds. But I think there's an increased velocity. There's obviously a lot more stamina in that ailing knee, and he's trying to make a statement.
No balls, 1 strike. You mentioned it while we were off the air. Just looking at Andy Bennis, you can tell he's in a better position to pitch. Physically, he's so much stronger, in much better shape, and Piazza rips one foul, the count 0-2.
Changing speeds, you get a good power hitter out in front.
That's last season. Mike Piazza, you stack up his numbers at this point in his career to the greatest catchers of all time, Hall of Fame catchers, and in every major offensive category, he leads the pack.
I was looking at those numbers in the Mets media guide today, and it's by far.
Here's an 0-2. Got him on the inside corner, and Andy Bennis, who's been racking up good innings down here, chalks up another. A quick and easy first inning against the Mets. Piazza strikes out. Good start. Bottom of the first. No score. Cardinals baseball on WV11 is brought to you by Budweiser. With a crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer, this Bud's for you. By your local St. Louis Chrysler Jeep dealers, the official automotive sponsor of the Cardinals on WV11. By Dobbs, St. Louis's #1 choice for tires and automotive service. And by Southwest Airlines, bringing people together with low fares. Fernando Vino will be first up. Nothing new there. He is off to a flying start down here this spring after arriving late to camp. And we look at the Southwest Airlines starting lineup for the Cardinals. Vina, then Tony Mota. J.D. Drew hitting third. He's back in the lineup. Eduardo Perez has been hot. He cleans up. Then Jim Edmonds in center. Tino Martinez at first. Edgar Rennery has been swinging the bat well. Has Mike DeFelice. And then Andy Bennis. Our Chrysler Jeep pitching matchup. Here's the other half of it. Satoru Komeyama, who is compared to Greg Maddux with the type stuff he brings to the mound.
Very few walks allowed. He's a 7-time Japanese All-Star. Matter of fact, he had his finest season in Japan in '95 when his manager was Bobby Valentine.
So no surprise, his manager now is Bobby Valentine. Valentine is not here, by the way, as the Mets have a split squad day going. Here's Fernando Vina. There's a foul out of play off to the left. Vina, then Tony Mota, then J.D. Drew. We'll take you around the horn in just a moment. Vina got down here late because of family concerns back home, and he stepped into the batter's box his first time in a spring game and ripped a single into right. There's a strike, and it's 0-2.
Komeyama is a guy that So Taguchi in Japanese told me all about his pitches.
I can't wait to hear
numerous
that.
ones. I understood every one but one.
Here's an 0-2. Over but low. Yes.
Fastball, slider, curveball, changeup, splitter, and then a swoosh.
A swoosh pitch.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we see the swoosh ball against Fernando Vina.
He does not throw hard. He has great control and really knows how to pitch at 36 years of age.
Here's an 0-1-2, and that will test Ordonez. He's one of the best. One out. Let's take you around the horn. It's brought to you by Dobbs. We start at first base, where Jorge Toca has been a big prospect for the Mets. Resides. Jorge Volandi is the second baseman. Over to third, and Joe McEwing, one of our favorites of the last few years in a Cardinal uniform. Ray Ordonez is the shortstop, and out in the outfield, it's Darren Bragg, the former Cardinal, in left. In center field, it's Gary Matthews Jr., and in right, Jeremy Burnitz. There's Mike Piazza, the catcher, and on the mound is Komeyama. One out, nobody on. Here's Tony Mota, son of Manny Mota, and he takes a pitch outside for ball one. Mota's had a lot of playing time so far this spring, a switch-hitting outfielder. And when he's been in the lineup, he's done some good things with a bat. That's what he did at AAA last year at Las Vegas, and probably ticketed for Memphis. 1 ball, 1 strike.
So that Mota name is so well respected in the game of baseball. His father, Manny Mota, the great pinch hitter and coach for the Dodgers.
New garden sensations.
And that Memphis team seems like it's going to be pretty well loaded.
With 1 out, nobody on, the 1-1 pitch. Strike. You and I get together for the first time since last season. First of all, Rick Ankiel, the progress that he's making, it's better. His elbow is better, but they don't know exactly when he's going to climb back onto the mound and pitch in a game. His first outing was some bad and a lot good. Mota strikes out, 2 gone. The other guy is Kyle, who will get on the mound on Friday. That's the plan right now. We'll talk about Cardinal tickets. The Cardinal ticket office is open today until 5 o'clock and on Sunday from 10 to 3. Now's a great time to order your individual game tickets or come down to the stadium and choose a season ticket location. You can become a Cardinal season ticket holder for as little as $810. If you didn't know that, give the Cardinals a call, 421-3060, to order your tickets. Here's J.D. Drew, and there's a strike called low and away, 0-1.
I watched Kyle throw in a simulated game today, 3 innings in the backfields, and he was outstanding. I told Barry Weinberg he just lost a patient.
Here's an 0-1 to Drew with 2 out, nothing shaken for the Cardinals. Hard hit, but right at Volandi. And each side goes in order in the first. Good start for Komeyama. Cardinals and Mets. No score after 1.
If I manage, I'm putting you in.
Okay, you can come out there in left field and hang with me out there too.
Gary Robinson, one of the guys fighting for playing time in left field. That's an interesting situation this year, isn't it?
Well, yes, I guess, you know, Tony's getting a look at a few of us guys and see what we can do out there. But, you know, if I'm chosen to start every day, I think that I can be productive.
How's your spring going?
Pretty good. I just want to, you know, get the bat on the ball a little bit and steal some bases and do what I can do to score some runs.
I think you can outrun me these days.
That might be a possibility.
Joe, Hal, back to you.
All right, back and out off the bat of Jeremy Burnitz, and it's 1-0 Mets as Andy Benes delivered it. And Jeremy Burnitz, the former Met, former Cleveland Indian, former Milwaukee Brewer, now with the Mets again, hits a home run to right to put New York on top 1-0.
That's what they hope that Burnitz will do. He's had those monster seasons. I was talking to Jeremy. He says it's going to be fun to be on a competitive team. You know, you get very selfish, and you see an off-speed pitch, location, what hurt Andy right there, down and into the left-hander, and that's right in his wheelhouse.
First pitch is a strike to Toka as that ball got out of here. Burnitz has lost a lot of weight as well.
Yes.
It's like a different guy. Nobody on or out. And Toka nearly lost the bat as he fouls it away. That's strike 2. There are a lot of guys to talk about, and I'm sure we'll have time as this game goes on. Inevitably, we will have time to talk about one guy after another, but a lot of interesting young arms that are out in the bullpen, guys that we haven't talked a lot about over the past year. It's an off-speed pitch, and Toka pops it up, and glasses on. Renteria makes a tough play. 1 out. But there are names, Al, and I can't wait for you to see some of these guys pitch, like Scotty Layfield, Jeremy Lambert. You saw him last spring quite a bit. Travis Smith, who worked later today, has got good stuff. Kevin Sherrody is another guy that really has been impressive, kind of drops down. He's pitched 5 innings this spring, hasn't allowed a hit. Josh Pierce, a guy who made the start the other day in place of Rick Ankiel. There are others. Mike Crudale has a chance to make this team, but leading the pack of those is Kevin Joseph, the guy the Cardinals got for Jason Christensen last year from the Giants. He has really been impressive.
Yeah, I've talked to Marty Mason, also Dave Duncan about him, and they actually just rave about all the youngsters.
1 ball, 1 strike on McEwing.
They have said as a collective group, the young pitchers have been almost unhittable and just so impressive.
McEwing with Darren Bragg to follow, 1 out, and that's strike 2.
A couple guys that we didn't mention. Chance Capel, you know, high draft pick coming off of surgery from last year, hadn't been able to pitch. Last year's minor league pitcher of the year, Jimmy Jornell, had bone chips removed right after the winter warm-up. You know, he'll probably start throwing in April.
Still 1 and 2 on McEwing.
And I think that Bruce Mano, the new farm director of the Cardinals, went out and got a lot of, say, those 6-year minor league free agents to stockpile at Memphis and give Tony a new look, and he's probably enjoyed seeing all these new players.
1 ball, 2 strikes with 1 out, nobody on. A 1-run lead for the Mets. That's too far inside, and the Cardinals have been very open about the fact that they do still want to trim $4 million off their payroll. And guys like Dave Veers and Mike Timlin will be heavily scouted this spring, and if they have good springs, that probably means they'll end up with another team. 2-2 pitch. That's easy for Vina to his left. 2 out. So with 2 away, Darren Bragg will bat. Talk about autograph ball day on Saturday, April 13th, right at the start of the season. The Cardinals play Houston, so a good game. And it's McDonald's autograph ball day and kids opening weekend. For all fans 15 and under with a paid admission, received an autograph ball featuring the signatures of the 2002 Cardinals, compliments of McDonald's. Also be special games and festivities in the Southwest Airlines Family Pavilion. That is on Saturday, April 13th. Cards in Houston at 1:10. Here's Bragg, and there's a strike. Darren's let his hair go a little bit. He looks like he should be in a boy band. 2 out, bases empty in the 0-1.
You know, we've got the great promotion department, but they've got a new item. It's my favorite.
Is it the Albert Pujols bobblehead doll?
No. Or is it the Vina bobblehead doll or all the other great items?
What is it?
The Steve Klein Kid's Cap.
It comes with ringworm.
It is a replica. This one is sanitized, though.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Bragg. I would hope that they would not try to simulate the dirt and the filth and muck that's on that hat.
They have simulated it.
But
it's clean.
Not real, but it's clean.
It's not real, but it's awesome.
He will pitch later today, so you can get another good look at that disgusting hat. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Bragg's out in front, just got a piece. Home run aside, you can see better things from Andy Bennett in a blink. I mean, it's like night and day from a year ago.
Well, Andy has the ability to compete right now. I've maintained for the last year or so, he has a better understanding how to pitch today and get hitters out. Just needs the fastball to set it up, set those off-speed pitches up.
Good pitch to get Bragg, and that'll do it. The inning started with a home run by Jeremy Brunitz. Goodbye. 1-0 New York after an inning and a half. Welcome back. Our What's on Tap is brought to you by Budweiser. With a crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you. Cardinals and the Memphis Redbirds on March 30th at 2 p.m. Cardinals will head home after that and open the season on the 1st of April against Colorado. There's Steve Klein. You know, when you're in spring training, and first of all, you have to break in a new hat. That hat looks far too Cardinal-like for Steve Klein to have it on his head, but you see how that little grassy hill area is out near the bullpen as that thing's falling in a hurry, and Matthews will make a basket catch to retire Eduardo Perez. 1 out. Rich Gould talked about all access. It's all access and anything you want out in that bullpen area. Those guys are right there, and the fans are inches away sitting up on that hill.
It's a fun environment down here. And as you mentioned, that little grassy knoll back there, you get to know the old bullpen guys pretty well. They all sign autographs in between innings.
1 out, nobody on. Here's Edmonds, who had a 4 RBI day yesterday, including a 3-run home run. No balls, 1 strike. This is our Ford Key matchup. Career against the Mets, Jim Edmonds. Mixed into those numbers, the home runs and RBIs. Was a big home run he hit there last year in a game that looked like it was over before it started, a game that Woody Williams started. It was 5-0 after 2 innings. Cardinals came back and won that game in extra innings and rolled on from there. Ended up the wild card team in the National League as they finished percentage points behind Houston.
How about in 2000, his first campaign with the Cardinals? A couple big game winners down the stretch.
That's right. Well, hello to Jack Buck back at home. He's a big Cardinal fan. Somebody sent a note.
I heard.
He's back at home watching and getting better. I know everybody wants to know how he's doing. I get that question everywhere. Back at home down here in Florida, so everybody's thinking about you, Dad, and can't wait for you to get out of there and get back down to the ballpark. 1 out, nobody on. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Edmonds.
Joe, that is probably the understatement. Every place we go, everyone's first thoughts are about Jack.
Here's a 2-2. And Edmonds trying to go the other way, fouls it. Komiyama, who pitched last year and for his entire career over in Japan, pitched with Yokohama, was 12-9 with a 3.03 ERA. He took over the number that was worn by Kevin Appier, who the Mets traded away to Anaheim, as Edmonds slaps another one foul. That was the part of the Mo Vaughn trade. We're only seeing really half this Mets team today. They've got Mo Vaughn at first base this year. They've got Roberto Alomar scheduled to play second base. Got Edgardo Alfonso to play third base. Got Roger Cedeno for the outfield. Of course, Jay Payton. So we're not really seeing the true A lineup for the Mets today. That's outside. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Charlie Huff, the pitching coach for the Mets, told me that he has the best pitchers for the Mets here at this game, and their better hitting club is facing the Braves.
Here's a 3-2. Edmonds with a pretty good at bat here, battling Komiyama. So after Edmonds, it'll be Tino Martinez, and I know a lot of diehard Cardinal fans are anxious to watch Tino Martinez, a guy that we've all watched in the World Series year after year, wearing number 24 for the Yankees, wear number 21 for the Cardinals, and anchor the first base position. Another 3-2 to Edmonds, and another foul ball. Tino Martinez's locker is in the corner of the clubhouse that was inhabited by Mark McGwire. Therefore, you get two lockers, and to his left is Mike Matheny, to his right is Jim Edmonds. And with all three sitting there, I said, I know I speak for the organization, Tino, when I tell you to keep looking left at Matheny and just ignore Edmonds to your right. Here's a 3-2 pitch. Yet again from Komiyama. And a base hit into right center. What a good at bat by Jim Edmonds, who from the word go this spring, Al, has said he would like to step up and try to be more of a leader in the clubhouse and on the field, and we've seen some of that already this spring.
And I think when you talked about that locker placement, those are the real leaders. Now there's some leaders on the pitching staff, but just three guys that have a lot of influence in the game. There's Edmonds, Tino Martinez, and Matheny. Matheny has respect of the entire pitching staff and just anybody associated with the club. And this guy is a leader, period.
Here he is wearing red. Those are his numbers from last year with the Yankees. Tino Martinez. 1 on, 1 out. And to the right side. Valandia gets the lead runner, and they get both. 4-6-3 on the double play. We'll talk more about Tino in his next at bat. The Cards get their first hit. But the right-hander, Komiyama, has faced the minimum. Third inning. Home run by Burnitz. The only run. 1-0 Mets. Let's go around the horn. It's brought to you today by Dobbs. Tino Martinez at first base, a very good defensive first baseman. Fernando Vina is at second base. Across the way, it's Eduardo Perez at third. The shortstop is Edgar Renteria. Out in the outfield, it's Tony Mota in left. It's Jim Edmonds. He would get my vote for the best defensive center fielder in the game. And J.D. Drew is in right. Mike DeFelice is the catcher, and Andy Bennis back for his third inning of work. 1-0 Mets. And there's a strike to Jorge Valandia. At the end of the season last year, George Steinbrenner was not quiet about the fact that Jason Giambi was going to be #1 on his shopping list for the offseason. 1 ball, 1 strike on Valandia. And the players went to George Steinbrenner, led by Jeter and Bernie Williams and others, but led by Jeter. Said, look, boss, we know you love Jason Giambi, and we know that he's a big name, but we've got the first baseman in Tino Martinez that we need. And he really led that team, Al, in the second half, was easily their most consistent offensive performer, and drove in over 100 runs and hit some big home runs in the postseason as well.
Absolutely. And I heard even front office personnel, it was a 50-50 split. Keep Tino or bring in Jason.
Jason Giambi, by the way, has played in only 1 game this spring because of tightness in his hamstring.
Yeah, but I think he did what George wanted to in that 1 game.
Hit 2 home runs. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Valandia with a pitcher, Komiyama, on deck. And to third. Tough play, and that's probably a base hit. Should be, as Eduardo Perez could not make the play cleanly. Put in a good spot by Valandia. And let's go down to the third member of our broadcast team, Rich Gould.
Thank you, Joe. It's always nice to be the president of a ball club that's picked to maybe win the World Series, huh, Mark Lansing?
Well, I hope that things go as well as people think they're going to go, but there's a long way between the Jupiter, Florida, and the postseason.
Pretty down here. Beautiful day. Chamber of Commerce day. You know what we have that St. Louis doesn't have right now? Green and palm trees in 78.
Oh, it's beautiful now. You can tell it's spring training. You know, they're driving cars between innings on the field. You've got a errant ball out in center field, but I think it's been a good spring so far. The weather was a little iffy early on, but it's been beautiful the past couple days, and knock on wood, and everyone's getting their work in.
You've been one of the busiest guys in the state of Missouri. How are things going with plans for a new stadium and a ballpark village?
Well, I think they're going wonderfully, and one of the reasons for that is as people begin to understand what it's about versus the rhetoric, people support it. You know, we got great support from the Board of Aldermen this week in the city of St. Louis, and as people realize that The only tax dollars that will be going into this will be tax dollars that come from the facility, that if you don't go to the games, if you don't buy tickets, if you don't work for the Cardinals, none of your tax dollars are going into the project. So it's a win-win for everybody.
You meet the new players? Have you met Tino and Jason and all the guys, getting to know them?
Yes, I have. I try not to spend too much time down there. I really they have more important things to do than worry about meeting the front office people. But it's a great group of Cardinals. I think fans will really be proud of this year's edition. They're not only great players, but great individuals.
Thank you, Mark, very much.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Back up to you, Joe.
All right, Rich, thank you. And Mark's right, by the way. There's a baseball sitting out on the field, out in right center field. Komiyama's doing everything right after a leadoff hit. Komiyama dropped down a good bunt, sacrificed 3-4, runner at second, one out. And if a ball goes into right center field, there'll be all kinds of confusion. As a pitch misses outside, ball one.
Well, you always want to keep one in your back pocket. One goes over the fence, you jump up, pull out the other one, throw it back in.
Why not? A 1-0 pitch off the end of the bat. We all remember Gary Matthews Jr. from his days with the Cubs. Then he ended up with the Pirates about the same time that the Cardinals got Miguel Cairo, as the Cubs had to get a couple of pitchers on their active roster. They had to put Matthews and Cairo on the waiver wire, and the Pirates took Matthews and the Cardinals took Cairo. And shortly thereafter, the Cubs fell apart. Not that one had a ton to do with the other, but they were pretty big members of that team coming off the bench for Don Baylor.
Hi, Jim.
A lot of people think that if you have the patience and can allow the playing time to Gary Matthews, that he will be a productive major leaguer.
The 2-1 into right center field. The ball will hang up for Drew. Valandia will tag and hold, and it's a runner at second, 2 out. Andy Bennis trying to get around a leadoff hit. Standing in his way, Ray Ordonez. 14 remain as the no boundaries journey continues in the Arctic Circle. Everyone is forced to abandon ship and survive icy waters on the next No Boundaries tonight at 6 on WB11. Ray Ordonez now grounded out to short his first time up. And after his first season, when he came to the United States after defecting, and he came with a reputation of being all glove, no hit, and he hit that first season, he has become all glove, no hit. Runner at second, 2 out, and a good breaking ball for a strike to Ordonez.
And yet it seems like a couple years ago he had great success against the Cardinals in almost unexplainable 4-hit games.
Ordonez out of the way, 1 ball, 1 strike. Ordonez and his manager Bobby Valentine have butted heads a couple of times over the past 2 seasons. Those are the career numbers for Ray Ordonez. But he's had a couple of seasons mixed in those years where he's hit in the low 200s with very few extra base hits. 2 balls and a strike from Andy Bennis. The Cardinals in the bottom of this third will have the bottom 3, Renteria, DeFelice, and Bennis, who even with all those troubles last year with his right knee and decreased velocity was 7-7. The 2-1. Good pitch on the outside corner, 2-2.
You go back, and we don't know what Ordonez ultimately will do. That pitch that was inside off the plate has set up this at bat.
The 2-2. There it was away, and a weak ground ball hit by Ordonez. Renteria throws him out, and Andy Bennis gets around the leadoff hit. Mets strand their first. They lead by 1. This inning is brought to you by your quality Ford dealers on both sides of the river. Andy Bennis has gotten through 3 innings. He's allowed 1 run on 2 hits. The run coming on the home run by Burnett. Of the pitchers that are scheduled for the starting rotation, Al, the weak link so far has been Matt Morris. He's the one that's looked the shakiest. You know he'll be ready to go by opening day. But Bud Smith yesterday threw 4 shutout innings. Garrett Stevenson threw 4 shutout innings at Kissimmee against Houston's A lineup with a wind blowing out, allowed only 2 hits. And really on down the line, Woody Williams has picked up right where he left off. Ankiel was good after really struggling the first 3 batters that he faced. But then he came up with a stiff elbow, and I think everything's up in the air with him.
Well, there's a lot of subplots to this spring, and you can look at different things different ways, but I see so many positives.
A 1-0 to Renteria is low. 2-0.
I think the Ankiel situation, it is not serious. Obviously, they're going to be very conservative with it, but I think that could be a real plus if he doesn't make the club. Goes to Memphis, takes a little pressure off him, gets a few starts under his belt, and then comes up.
Well, I tell you, we have not, and this I think has been true the last 2 springs. We haven't seen anybody down here that has the stuff that Rick Ankiel has. I don't care who you throw out there, but the control is still a problem. It was that day initially, and then he settled down and threw strikes on the outside corner, and Komiyama is very Woody Williams-esque, and he moves the ball around, he throws strikes, and he's 2-2 on Renteria.
He changes speeds. He doesn't throw particularly hard, but he throws strikes, and he knows where to control the ball in his part of the strike zone.
That just missed the corner. 3-2. Mets starting rotation is suspect in a couple of spots. Cracked into left field, and Darren Bragg staggers but makes the catch. 1 out. Renteria's been hitting the ball hard down here this spring. The Mets have Pedro Estacio, who ended the season hurt last year with Houston. 2-1 record with Houston and 6-13 with Colorado. Their best is probably Al Leiter. They also have Bruce Chen, who we're supposed to see today, the left-hander they got from Atlanta. They've got Sean Estes, the former Giant, who was 9-8 with a 4.02 ERA last year. There's Chen getting ready. They still have Steve Traxel, and they've got Komiyama. Too far outside to DeFelice. Ball 1.
Cardinals very pleased to get Mike DeFelice back into the organization.
Cardinals will carry 3 catchers this year.
Joe, and I'm real excited about it because for the first time we're going to see what Eli Marrero can do.
He'll play some first base, any spot in the outfield, and obviously catch. A 1-1 to DeFelice. That's strike 2. So Tony La Russa will have that added weapon off the bench, because if you're free to use Marrero without having to save him as the backup catcher in an emergency situation, and you can use that speed, that is a big help to this team. Only speed off the bench other than Marrero would be Kerry Robinson. 2 balls, 2 strikes on DeFelice.
Sometimes you look at your ball club and, you know, everyone says there's an opening in left field. The way I kind of look at it, I think Tony might even prefer it not to have an established guy in left field, because he has the ability to rotate 4 or 5 different guys and keep them all sharp for their pinch hitting duties coming off the bench.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. DeFelice trying to plop one down the right field line. That'll be foul. Still 2-2. Cardinal fans, on Friday, April 12th, the Cards play the Astros. It's Busch Magnetic Schedule Day at the ballpark. All fans 21 and over receive a magnet with a 2002 Cardinals baseball schedule, courtesy of Busch Beer, Friday, April 12th, and it will look somewhat similar to that. There it is. Here's a 2-2 pitch to DeFelice. 3 balls, 2 strikes. After DeFelice, it'll be Andy Benes, who will try to complete 4 innings for the first time this spring. Cardinals have had 3 starters do that. Williams, and then the 2 guys yesterday, Bud Smith and Garrett Stevenson. That's into center field, and the wind knocks it down for Gary Matthews Jr. 2 out. And Komiyama's making it look easy. Now it's Andy Benes. This is the part of Andy's game that I'm sure, even though he enjoys hitting and from time to time he can swing the bat and swing it well, driving off that back knee, it's almost the same deal as McGwire had. And you know, you're not talking about the same idea with trying to hit the ball into the third deck, but at the same time, if you don't have anything to drive from with your back knee, you're really hitting on one leg.
And Joe, little nuances to pitching last year because of that knee. You can see it's the brace that's on it. Couldn't field his position, couldn't push off, couldn't drive, whether pitching or hitting. And you can tell that he's just in a lot better physical shape. He's worked hard to rehabilitate that knee. He's got a lot of pride. He wants to make a statement and be a part of this team.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Bennis grounds to short. Tricky hop, but Ordonez takes care of those, and that'll do it. Cards go in order. It had only one base runner. We go to the fourth. Still 1-0 Mets. This portion of Cardinal baseball on WB11 is brought to you by Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By your local Lexus dealer and the all-new ES300, a new world of luxury. And by Bank of America. We find financial solutions that fit you. We are going to give you our Schnucks date in history, and we're going to go back to 1904. That was World's Fair time. New York Giants players flee Mobile, Alabama when a judge issues an arrest warrant after a local umpire is beaten unconscious during an exhibition game. Did you ever get that mad, Al, that you wanted to? Oh, never mind. That was in 1904, March 10th. And speaking of umpires, that was an interesting story that came out about the two that were on double secret probation for gambling back in the late 80s. One of which works for Major League Baseball, Frank Pulley, and the other was one of the handful of umpires that didn't get their job back, Richie Garcia,
who is trying to get the same position, umpiring supervisor, like Frank Pulley has. All I know is I know both of them personally, and they're both two of the most outstanding guys. You know.
Boy, can they pick a race. Here's ball one, low and away to Mike Piazza. Piazza's first time struck out, and he rolls one to short. Renteria fires across. One down. There's, you know, here we go again, and I know I fall into this trap every year, but watch Mike Piazza run down the line. Here's a guy who's a borderline Hall of Famer already with what he's accomplished behind the plate, and he's certainly on his way to Cooperstown. It's the middle of spring training. He's down there working out those knees and catching guys, and he's tired. We talked to him before the game, and he hits a ground ball to short, and he sprints down the first baseline. And I've seen some of the younger minor league guys not do that for the Cardinals this spring.
I go back to the fact that you know, he started his professional career. We all know that Tommy Lasorda is a friend of the family. He asked the Dodgers to draft everybody they think's a prospect and then draft Piazza. But he went to the Dominican, to the summer leagues down there to the Dominican, where, I mean, for a young man that comes from a pretty good, healthy background and a little bit of wealth, to go down to there and to associate and learn the game of baseball, that's how little the Dodgers really thought of him.
Here's a 2-1 pitch to Burnitz, who has homered already today, and it is our Pizza Hut perfect delivery to this point. It stayed up, it hung up, and Burnitz clubbed it over the wall and right. That's the only run of the day, and one of very few base runners that we've had. There's a strike, and it's 3-2.
And Andy was more of an error in location, but you can see how effective he's pitched today by changing speeds, keeping the ball away from guys.
Broken bat. Tino Martinez can't get to it, and that's down the right field line. Drew will make the play. It's a double and a one-out double for Burnitz, who has 2 of the 4 hits that we've seen all day.
We talked about it. Jeremy's lost some weight, but he's coming back to a pretty good ball club. And see, there's the error in location again. Breaking ball down and in, right in the wheelhouse. He did break the bat, but just underneath the glove and down the line from Tino Martinez. Jeremy really looking forward to playing on a team that's got a reason to play late in the season.
Runner at second, one out. This is Toka, and that's a ball up and away. Toka's put together some good minor league seasons. He's always been a fringe prospect, but he has never made that jump that a lot of people predicted for him 3 years ago. Down off the end of the bat, 1 ball, 1 strike. Last season, see what he did. The few chances he got up with the Mets, hit only 176. Norfolk, he hit 11 home runs, drove in 51, so even the home runs and the production are down from a couple of years ago. Burnett's at second, 1 out, 1-0 Mets, and the 1-1 pitch. On the outside corner, 1-2.
Threw that fastball, threw it right by a young hitter. You get these hitters guessing. They're looking for an off-speed pitch, and that's when you sneak the fastball by them.
2 former Brewers are messing around out at second base. Burnett's is yapping at Vina. 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Andy's done a good job of, when he comes inside, he doesn't get hurt with that pitch. It's either inside off the plate in an area which sets up the next pitch or 2.
Career for Bennis, 150 wins in his big league lifetime, and there's a strikeout for Andy. That's strikeout number 4, and it's a runner at second, 2 out with McEwing coming up.
Fastball in, breaking ball away. And the purpose of the pitch inside is to keep a guy from diving across the plate. We're taking real liberties where you saw that because of the pitch inside, he's a little tentative. He's not going to reach across the plate, and then he doesn't have the plate coverage on the breaking ball away.
So now McEwing is in Bennis's way, trying to get through 4 innings, and that's ball 1.
Good. There you go. There you go, Joey.
McEwing his first time, grounded out to second. And everything he was for the Cardinals, he has continued to be for the New York Mets. A guy who hustles, a guy who can't wait to get to the ballpark. First guy there. Valuable player, can play anywhere. Usually hits some of the most dominating pitchers in the game. A guy that he owns is Randy Johnson, of all people. And McEwing is their top bench player. Cardinals traded McEwing 2 springs ago to the New York Mets right at the end of spring training and got Jesse Orosco. The 2-0. 3-0.
Something Andy has also done. This is one of the very few times he's pitched behind in the count.
See if McEwing's cutting it loose on 3-0. Good pitch on the outside corner, 3-1. Cardinals are also slated, and we know who the pitchers will be before the start of the day. That's a difference from spring training to the regular season. Luther Hackman, Steve Klein, Gene Steckschulte, and Travis Smith, a little right-hander. 3-1 pitch. Full count.
All right, drive him in now.
Get a hitter's count. You get a guy going up there looking for a fastball. You don't give it to him. Bottom falls out of that one, and Joe McEwing kind of has to be mad at himself because he should be on base.
So see if Bennis can battle back from a 3-0 count and get McEwing. He does. Ground ball to second, picked up by Vina, and Andy Bennis gets around a 1-out double. 4 strikeouts on the day, and that might be it for the Cardinal right-hander. Bottom of the 4th, 1-0 Mets. 1-0, the Mets lead, bottom of the 4th inning, and Komiyama, who has been nearly perfect, will try to continue that as he faces the top of the order. Here is our Bank of America Inside the Numbers, and we look at last year's National League batting leaders. And among the teams in the NL, the Rockies led the way, no surprise. The Astros, and then the Cardinals, third on the list. Now they have handicap races in horse racing.
Yes.
They ought to handicap the Colorado Rockies, like they put weights in the saddle for different horses to try to make the field more competitive. They ought to do that to the Rockies and just automatically lop 15 to 20 points off their team batting average.
Interesting thing about that graphic showed that, you know, other than the Cardinals, all the other teams played in new offensive ballparks.
Rich Gould will check in with Jason Isringhausen after the batter. The batter is Vina, who grounded out to short his first time, and the count 1 ball 1 strike. Here's a 1-1. There's a base hit. A good start to the 4th inning for the Cardinals. Warming up in the bullpen is our own Rich Gould. Rich?
I'd like to throw. I just couldn't get it to the catcher these days, but Jason Isringhausen can. Isn't spring training fun? Because I notice you're having a lot of fun with the guys behind you.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with everybody out here. It's finally been a pretty nice day, nice and sunny, and get a few more people out here when it's sunny.
Family and friends are watching in Illinois. They're sure happy to have you back, Jason.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. We'll see what happens during the year, though.
That brings about some trouble to you. Oh, you're getting tickets. You got mom and dad. You got some places there that might give them some grief if you have a bad game.
Yeah, you never know. The local cafes might get all over mom and dad when they go in there for coffee in the morning or something like that. But they told me they'd be able to handle it, so that was one of the reasons I came here.
It was a heck of a bullpen, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to have a good time down here. I mean, I think, you know, I think everybody's got a set role now. People won't be coming to the ballpark wondering each day what they're going to be doing from day to day, closing or setup man or 7th, 8th inning. So everybody's got a pretty much a set role. We got lefties to face lefties, righties to face righties, and we should be a really strong bullpen, and it'll take a lot of pressure off the starters where they don't have to go 7, 8, 9 innings.
Appreciate your time, Jason.
Very good, thank you.
And it's nice to have a guy that can throw gas, fellas.
All right, Rich. Check on the runner Vina after the Cardinals tried the hit and run and Mota fouled it. Cardinal all-time single-season franchise record for saves in a season is?
I don't remember.
47.
47.
Lee Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I remember you wore the number.
No balls, 1 strike. Mota lays off. Good pitch. 0-2. Good pitch if you're Homiyama. And with Drew on deck, Mota's set up. First time the Cardinals put the leadoff man on. The only other base runner was Edmonds, who singled with 1 out in the 2nd. And Martinez followed by grounding the next pitch into a double play. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That's a tough pitch to kind of lay off of, but as a hitter, you swing at it, you're probably going to pound to the ground and get that ground ball that the Mets are looking for.
You're watching Cardinal baseball on WB11 KPLR St. Louis. At the tone, it'll be 1 o'clock. 1 ball, 2 strikes. As it stays the same on Tony Mota. See how I did the time change too for the people back home? It's 2 o'clock here. 2:01. Under our Bank of America sign. Go ahead, pan up. It's okay. They're a sponsor. Runner at first, nobody out. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Tony Mota. 1 ball, 3 strikes on Tony Mota. That means there's 1 out.
He's gotten Mota twice. Looks like he pulls the string on him. He does have a changeup. He does have a split finger. But this is just, I think that's just a straight change. Or it's that swoosh pitch.
That could be the swoosh. We just heard the swoosh. Here's J.D. Drew, who wears shoes with a swoosh on them. And a check on Vina, who also wears that same brand shoe. Drew, about 8 minutes after coming out to camp before the reporting date, turned his left ankle. And then did it again about 5 or 6 days ago. There's a base hit, and that'll send Vina to third. Burnett gets it back in. First and third, one out, as the bouncer was put in a perfect place by JD, and the Cardinals present Eduardo Perez with a RBI opportunity.
See JD, first baseman, holding on, gets that high hopper, and by holding him on, he's not back at that normal depth. Burnett gets it, and look at here, Vina picks up Oquendo as third base coach, instructs him that no play at third, so come in here casually, but be alert if the ball gets by in middle infield.
So now Eduardo Perez. These are the opportunities that come along in spring training for a guy like Perez, where he has to deliver. First and third, one out. Ball one.
Eduardo's father, the Hall of Famer Tony, this was his golden opportunity. He was as good as anybody in RBI situations.
Eduardo, who came up with the Angels, is on his second tour of duty with the Cardinals. He was in Japan and had an injured right knee. They made him play through it, and his numbers reflected that he had an injured right knee.
So this is a situation, and Oquendo spent a lot of time flashing signs down, runners at first and third. But you don't always have to, you know, get a base hit to deliver in this situation. You can utilize the entire field, and you can get a lot of cheap hits and RBIs.
Step to third, look to first. It didn't work.
You got the first baseman holding on, Drew at first. The second baseman's playing pretty close up, you know, he's a little bit more towards second base, so a lot of hitting room through the right side.
Pulled to the left side, and McEwen won't get anybody. We're tied 1-1, so Perez put the bat on the ball, was going to get the RBI, and as icing on that cake, he's on base as well, and it's first and second, still only one out in the 1-1 game. It's an error, and it should be an RBI E5.
So didn't quite look it into the glove. He came up trying to throw it before he really had the handle on it. It was going to take a good play to retire Vina at the plate, and an accurate throw, and you don't make connections with it, you don't get that opportunity.
So now 2 on with 1 out. Jim Edmonds, who has a hit today, could put the Cardinals on top. Ball one.
Let's wait and see if this pitcher, a guy with great control, great knows how to pitch. Let's see if he really stays away from Jim, or if he comes inside, he'll come inside off the plate.
A look back at Drew at second. Gone from this team from a year ago is Todd Zeile, who's now with Colorado, his 9th organization.
And he's going to be the third baseman?
The third baseman for Colorado. They've traded Cirillo. He's gone. Cirillo's with Seattle, and Zeile's with the Rockies. 2 on with 1 out. 1 ball, no strikes on Edmund. On the outside corner, 1-1. Who would have thought, when Todd Zeile was the hotshot prospect with the Cardinals in the late 80s, coming up at the end of '89, that he would end up with 9 major league organizations.
And Joe, I mean, when you look at throughout his career, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves.
Edmonds floats a base hit into left center field. Drew's going to come to the plate. The throw by Bragg is good and out to keep it 1-1. And Tony La Russa is going to put up the mildest argument in the history of his career.
When Darren Bragg comes in, he was very shallow, and he got the ball all the way on the line, and Piazza tries to seal off. You know, JD, now remember, he's had that ankle sprain, so I'm sure the Cardinals are feeling like, well, we'll go ahead and give them the out as long as he doesn't have an injury. So if you saw that slide, his legs really did not extend He almost kind of tripped himself up when he slid in.
And that was how J.D. from Hayhira, Georgia says, come on. Come on. Come on. I was safe. And he looked safe to me. I know you said he didn't extend his legs, but I'm saying he was safe.
I would never disagree with a buck.
So the put out, by the way, is 7-2 and a good throw. Matter if he was safe or not by Darren Bragg, and it's still 1-1. Now it's Perez at second, Edmonds at first, and Tino Martinez takes low 1-1.
Let's watch Tino. Now he's had 600 RBI seasons the last 7 years, and yet I've heard people say that in these situations he doesn't always go with the pitch like Edmonds did. He'll try and pull the ball, and this guy will probably keep it away from him.
He does, and Martinez floats one into left center. Darren Bragg coming on and making the play. So Darren Bragg, a good inning. Tino Martinez is 0 for 2, and J.D. Drew was out. Come on.
Top of the fifth, 1-1 ball game. Andy Bennett, starting pitcher today, joins us. Let's get the bad stuff out of the way. And there was really only one bad pitch, and that was the one to Burnitz. What happened?
Well, that one really, I thought that was a pretty good pitch, but lefties, they like the ball down there. So, you know, breaking ball down middle, and he hit it pretty good. I'll say the wind blew it out, but he hit the ball solid, but felt like I threw the ball well today.
Now, the good stuff is you've had 3 starts down there. 2 of them have been outstanding. And you're in a position where you're trying to earn a spot on this rotation.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it tough on him. I know I missed competing last year. I'm excited to be here. I'm healthy. Best part's my family got here yesterday, so my wife and kids are down here, and go out and do the best I can. I feel like I'm as healthy as I've been in 2 or 3 years, so I'm very thankful for that. And competition's good, so I'm looking forward to it.
That's something that a lot of fans don't think about. It's easier to pitch when you've got family and friends down here.
Yeah.
Makes you relax.
Yeah, it was nice. My wife and kids got down here yesterday, and after we had a couple fights at the FAO Schwartz down at City Place, we all did great.
Great job today.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, Joel.
All right, get off the field, Rich. You're going to get hurt down there. Here's Darren Bragg. There's Justin Timberlake. There's Rich Gould. There's Joey Fatone, and there's Darren Bragg. The fourth Hansen. 2 balls, no strikes. Bragg, Volandia, and then the pitcher spot. And we will have a pinch hitter. Here's the Steck Schulte. 2 balls and a strike. Steck Schulte so far has thrown 5 innings, allowed 2 runs on 5 hits. At times he can get into trouble with his control, and he's behind on the count here as Bragg pops one into left, and Mota makes the catch. 1 out.
Well, Steck Schulte's been a little bit inconsistent. This is his 4th appearance. He's allowed 2 runs, 2 earned runs on the spring, and a 3.60. But I think we all know that he has the ability to be very good as a setup man.
So with 1 out, this is Volandia. And that was Volandia. Pop up into right for J.D. Drew. Come on, J.D. 2 out. And we will have a pinch hitter wearing number 63. Which forces all of us to go rifling through our papers that are blowing around in the wind here. And this is Robert Stratton. That's him. 2 T's in Stratton. He's a big, strong right-handed hitter, Al.
Yes, he is. He's an outfielder, but during batting practice, you can't help but notice him. He's very impressive in his size.
Two balls, no strikes. So Stratton batting for the right-hander Komiyama, and he was great. I was impressed with him, Al. 4 innings. He allowed 1 run on 4 hits. Bennis went 4, allowed 1 run on 3 hits. Komiyama struck out 2. He got Tony Mota both times. No walks. And by the way, for Andy Bennis, 4 strikeouts and no walks. That's off the end of the bat. Fouled off to the right, and the count 2-2. There's Bobby Floyd, the manager of the Mets today, with Bobby Valentine managing the other group of New York Mets playing the Atlanta Braves. Jeff D'Amico's making the start for the Mets in that game against Jason Marquis. That's popped up deep right center, and Edmonds will go to a spot and give way to Drew as the wind throws it over to right. Edmonds going to get it, but the wind pushed it to JD, and with the sun and the wind, it's a struggle out there, but JD made it, no problem. This portion of Cardinal Baseball on WB11 is brought to you by Jack in the Box, where we don't make it till you order it. By Subway. Come in today and let Subway show you how good a fresh made sandwich can be. Subway, eat fresh. It'll be the bottom part of the order. Against Bruce Chen. Chen will take over for Komiyama after the first 4 innings. And he'll deal with Renteria, DeFelice, and then the pitcher's spot is due for the Cardinals.
The Mets are excited about Bruce Chen. Came up through the Atlanta farm system. He's only 24 years of age now. Philadelphia had him last year. Larry Boa didn't like the fact that as a left-hander he couldn't get inside to right-handed batters.
Tried to go inside to Renteria there, and Edgar hits it foul, hard and foul, and the count 1-1.
Charlie Huff, Mets pitching coach, says, I love Bruce Chen. He's only 24 now. You know, the problem was he had some success when he was 20, 21 with the Braves. He tried to change his motion a little bit. You know, we always talk a little bit of like Ankiel blocks himself off. Well, it's harder for a left-handed pitcher to come inside a right-handed. But they worked on a few things, changed his arm angle a little bit, and they feel it's going to really help him.
Renteria with another foul. It's still 1-2. Well, the Braves have not let, but at least traded away a couple of pretty good young left-handers. Not only Bruce Chen, but Odalis Perez, who was in the Gary Sheffield trade. Odalis Perez and Brian Jordan going to the Dodgers for Gary Sheffield. Here's the 1-2. And that's down the left field line foul. And Edgar Renteria, Al, has had some good swings this spring, and even here in this one at bat.
No, I think, and traditionally he's always been a very slow starter. I think he's in much better shape. Looks like he's a little lighter, and I think he's very comfortable being with the Cardinals and really want to get off to a good start.
The 1-2 pitch, another foul, and it will get out of play. Edgar Renteria came awfully close around the All-Star break time getting traded last year by the Cardinals. There were some teams that were interested. I remember Colorado was a team that was on the list. And right about that same time, the Cardinals made the change in hitting instructors. And when Mitchell Page came aboard, this was one of the guys that he worked a lot with, something you talked about quite a bit last year, with that front foot. And Renteria changed some things and had a very good second half.
He really did, and it really coincided with that trading deadline. He did not want to be traded. He wasn't traded, and then everything came together for him, and saw the great player he is.
That's into right center field. The wind will carry it deep to right, and it's off the wall. Burnitz couldn't get there, and Renteria has a leadoff double. There's Mitchell Page, who watches his star pupil line to left his first time, and now double into right center field.
Well, he's so strong too that you don't always have to pull the ball to hit it with authority and power. Now the wind will contribute. This gets off the wall, high off the wall there, and the center fielder was backing up to keep it to a double.
So Chen is greeted with a double. Now it's DeFelice with Mike Coolbaugh on deck. DeFelice ducks out of the way of a high hard one from Chen. Nobody's warming up in the bullpen. That would tell me that when the Cardinals brought in Stechschulte, they made a double switch and had Coolbaugh in the lineup the last half inning. We just didn't catch it. There's the area where Renteria's drive hit. Surprised it went that far, but as Andy Bennis talked about, wind is really blowing out to right field, and it's one of the few times this spring that the wind isn't blowing straight out to left. DeFelice trying to move the runner over. Ahead on the count, 2-0.
Joe, I found training in St. Pete with the Cardinals and West Palm with the Braves that usually you have warmer weather on the East Coast, but a lot more rain and a lot more wind.
Well, the rain situation's been good, but the wind really every year. The 6 that the Cardinals have been coming down here has always been more than we ever experienced over on the other coast.
But what an incredible spring training site.
And the area around the ballpark, if there are people at home, and I said this on the radio yesterday, if there are people at home that haven't been here for a couple of years and might be coming back down here, you will be shocked at how the area around this stadium has been built up. Throw back to second, and Renteria didn't have a big lead anyway, back easily. So around this ballpark now, you've got a huge movie theater. You got restaurants, shops, bars, condominiums. It's not too much unlike what they're trying to do around the new ballpark in downtown St. Louis.
Very much so. And that was a planned play there. Ordonez, the shortstop, tries to draw Renteria. Another false step towards third as the second baseman sneaks in behind. Yeah, that the ballpark village concept kind of evolved from the master plan right here at Jupiter.
Here comes a 2-0 to DeFelice. See if the Cardinals stick with a bunt. They do, and Chen makes a wrong decision. Everybody's safe.
Well, you know what? It looked like McEwing thought it was a force play. Or maybe he just didn't feel that he had a chance to get the lead runner because he jumped off the bag and maybe he was going to try and get the batter. But usually the catcher is the one that will call out, bark out the signals, whether it's first or third. But a left-hander, you see, he can make that real quick throw to third base. But with only a runner at second, it's not a force play, and there was never a tag ever thought of by McEwing.
Yeah, I think what you said the second time around, that it just was so late that there was no play at third anyway. And here's Mike Coolbaugh trying to make the club as a reserve. Last year, ended the year in Milwaukee, and Tony La Russa said the one thing I remember about Coolbaugh is nobody came off the bench swinging the bat any harder than that guy. And he's been in the minor leagues for 8 or 9 years, and he's trying to make it somewhere, and he's had a pretty good spring.
And Joe, I think one of the interesting things is we've seen him play shortstop. Some of the, you know, that's, if you're a utility player and you can play several different positions, including short, you have some value.
Got some pop in his bat. First and third, nobody out, and that's into center field to put the Cardinals on top. Mike Coolbaugh on his first at bat delivers. Renteria scores, and the Cardinals lead it 2-1. Mike Coolbaugh, today's Auto Tire pinch hitter, and Coolbaugh singles into center field to put the Cardinals on top for the first time today.
Once again, we talk about Chen, who has a little difficulty coming in on the right-handers, or in that case, it wasn't far enough away, and Coolbaugh not trying to do too much, trying to make contact, put the ball in play, and got the benefit of an RBI base hit.
Now the Mets expect a bunt again from Fernando Vina with 2 on and nobody out. Doesn't show it. Takes a strike on the outside corner. Jose Oquendo through the signs that he gets from Tony La Russa. Yesterday, Dave Duncan managed the Cardinals. The group that was here while Tony La Russa wanted to drive to Kissimmee and see Garrett Stevenson pitch, as did Walt Jocketty, by the way, and they were really impressed. 1-1. It's worth repeating that with the wind blowing out in Kissimmee against the Astros, a very good hitting team against their A lineup. Garrett Stevenson threw 4 shutout innings, allowing only 2 hits.
And we're talking about a guy that initially was projected to be pitching in June, then May. All along he says opening day.
That's outside, 2-1, and Chen has had a rough start in his first inning of work.
Wind blowing awfully stiffly and knocking a lot of balls down, but the outfielders, particularly in left and center, are playing very shallow.
Here's a 2-1. That's well hit into right field. Back is Burnett's, turned the wrong way initially. Makes the catch, and DeFelice was off the bag, can't get back and tag. And it's 2 on with 1 out. Vigna hit it hard, but Burnett's able to track it. 1 away.
Well, he jumped on this ball and got it up into the wind. Go back a little bit. There's where you're seeing about the turned around a little bit. DeFelice got all messed up, and you know he has to be over at third base. He knows it. A little bit confused on it, and Burnett's does have a pretty good throwing arm, so you don't want to complicate it and get thrown out.
You could see, if you could read DeFelice's lips right there, he just said more left, and he was talking to the umpire that was in front of him. The umpire asking him where he wants him to stand to get out of his way as he tries to watch what's going on at home plate.
Good point, Joe. And remember, we're talking about a 3-man versus the 4-man umpires in spring training.
Good pitch on the inside corner. 0-2 on Tony Mota, who is in danger of striking out for the 3rd time today.
Three-man umpiring alignment. You have the one obviously at first base, home plate, and then that swing guy back at it second.
Mota stays alive.
One that got in the line of sight of DeFelice, we think, on Vigna's line drive. Or at least he was doing a good job of making us believe that.
That's right.
You want Vance to catch after Mike hits?
Yeah, Mike's got one more.
Right over the shoulder of DeFelice into Tony Mota, who slaps it foul. So Tony Mota with the RBI chance, with Bill Ortega in the on-deck circle. Ken Samuel directing, giving us all a view of what DeFelice is looking at as he watches, and Mota grounds to the left side. They get one, they get both. 5-4-3 to end the inning, and through all that, the Cardinals get only 1 run. So the double play ends it. Cardinals get a run on 2 hits, leave a man, and finally lead after 5. It's 2-1. Our Suntrip Automotive family trivia is: who are the only 3 players to retire after a season hitting 29 or more home runs? Anyone?
Well, McGuire's one. Dave Kingman and Ted Williams.
Kingman hit 35. Williams is the one that hit 29, which forces it into a question worded that way. 29 or more home runs. What did McGuire hit? 30?
No, I thought, well, what was it?
Well, it had to be 30.
I was thinking it was 29, but
we can find that out easily. You got your media guide. Go to work. I'll do the inning.
That takes too much time for me.
This is Steckschulte back for another inning.
29.
29 home runs, 64 RBIs, and a 187 batting average.
On one leg.
On one leg.
And that's why Tony felt that he'd be able to hit 50 again.
Instead, Mark McGuire is hitting tee shots, about 330 yards on both legs. He's in love. He's getting married
in April. You know, Joe, I thought he was making a mistake until I heard the interview with Jack Buck. And then I knew that he had made the right decision.
And evidently, from people who talked to him, he couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I mean, you could hear the happiness in his voice and just the relief, and basically admitted that he'd retired mentally in the season.
Pretty well hit to left center, but Moda to his left pulls it in. One out. Let's go down to Rich Gould with So Taguchi.
And his interpreter, a very interesting story. A lot of folks would like to know how So is doing. So if you'll ask him, please.
まあ春のキャンプ初めてですけどいかがですか。いろんな新しい発見があって、困ることはないけど楽しんでというか、まあ状況が状況だけになかなか楽しめないけども、いろんな新しい発見があるから。
Is enjoying it very much. There's a lot to learn here. Of course, it's his first year here, but he's trying to have fun. His teammates are great, so he's having great fun.
Outstanding. What's the difference between playing here and in Japan, and how is the pitching? It's tough to hit, isn't it?
まあ日本の野球とアメリカの野球の違いはどういうとこありますかと。あとピッチングはやっぱり日本に比べてピッチングラインじゃないですかって。
まあキャンプ自体はやっぱりグラウンドの数が違うから、その分やっぱり時間がね短くなるっていう、それが一番大きな部分だと思うし、であとピッチャーはねやっぱりいろんなまっすぐでもカットボールだとかテールだとかって投げてくるから、その辺はやっぱ難しい。
The biggest difference with spring training here is that the number of fields. We have like 6 or 7 here. In Japan, there's only one. With the pitching, the biggest difference is that their fastball has some kind of movements normally, like cutters and two-seamers. So that's the biggest difference.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
How do you say thank you in Japan?
Arigato.
Arigato.
Come on, Rich.
Back upstairs.
Come on, domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, domo. You know, remember that? Thank you very much, Mr. Robot.
I can sing it.
All right.
I just didn't know it. By the way, there's karaoke tomorrow at the Sea Spray. Joe, you're welcome to join me.
I know you'll be there.
I'll be there.
Va, 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 boom. 1 on, 2 out. And there's a strike to Burnett's. Rich Gould, I don't know if people at home realize that the man not only enjoys lounge singing, but he's good at it.
Oh, he is karaoke king.
What do you want to hear? Do you want Sinatra?
Absolutely. Luck be a lady tonight.
Bob Dylan. That's one of the things I'll perform tomorrow. I don't know why the Cardinals haven't tapped me yet to sing God Bless America in the 7th. What's going on opening day?
There's always Marty's listening back home.
They gotta ask.
They gotta ask. All right, you're not begging.
I ain't starting. I ain't departing.
All right. You and Joe West could do a duet.
How's he sing? He must be a country music fan. That's Cowboy Joe.
Yeah, he's back now. He was reinstated. And we did a game yesterday, and he forgot that there were 3 strikes on a hitter, and was surprised to learn as the player walked off that the guy had actually struck out. So
how in the world is he ever going to sing if he's forgetting? He'll forget the words.
I know. He couldn't remember the strikes, but this is spring training, so we can get away with that kind of stuff. So tomorrow night, where are you going to be?
Oh, it's a Sea Spray, and I usually perform on Mondays down here. Mr. Fun will be out tomorrow. Monday night at the Sea Spray.
Do you have another personality then, Mr. Fun?
Well, just everyone down here I do. That's how a lot of the folks don't know me. As I, just walking up and down the streets. Hey, there goes Mr. Fun.
Do you push the sleeves to your blazer up?
Do I what?
Do you Miami Vice it with the blazer and the sleeves pushed up?
I don't vamp it up too much. Right. It's usually just a pair of shorts and a black shirt. Always black.
Always black. It's thinning.
I look a little like Shannon when I go.
You got to take him with you.
Can he sing? Can he be my backup?
He can back up. Don't you worry. A walk to Burnett's. It's 2 on with 2 out. First walk on either side, I'm told by Tom Mee, our producer.
I'm just listening.
I know. Let's get back to the game. Steck Schulte.
I was enjoying
with 2 on, 2 out. And Burnett's, he's
Sweeney.
Mark Sweeney's going to come out. Burnett's is trotting off. His day is finished. Good day for Burnett's, and he hopes to have more days like that with the Mets after leaving the Brewers. Burnett's homers, doubles, walks, and now our old friend Mark Sweeney does the running.
And by the way, Kulba is playing third base.
So there you go. There's a strike from Steckschulte, who's trying to get around a hit and a walk and trying to keep the lead, which is now 2-1 Cardinals after single runs in the 4th and 5th. That should end the inning if Renneria can make the play on the tricky hop. Toka's gone, and so are the Mets. Good pitching today and really good pitching yesterday for the Cardinals. It continues 2-1 St. Louis. This inning is brought to you by your quality Ford dealers on both sides of the river. And this inning is the bottom of the 6th. Here is red hot Polanco. My dad, watching back at home, calls him Tres Mas. 3 more. He gets 3 hits every game. And he has been absolutely red hot yet again. He's hit safely in 6 straight games and is hitting .579 this spring, after leading the team in spring average last year. Back to Chen, 1 out. A couple of good innings out by Steckschulte, 2 shutout innings. Looks like he will give way to Steve Klein, who's next on the docket.
Yeah, I think the one thing, Joe, is you go out there and you want to get as many innings as possible and keep on building up the arm strength, get game conditions.
Here's Bill Ortega, who's got a chance to make the team. He's looked good down here this spring. He's hitting in the pitcher spot, so he's batting for Steckschulte with Saturia waiting on deck. So we're getting into typical spring training action. That thing was crunched, and Ortega ends up at first base, and now we'll go to second as the throw goes into the dugout. That's pretty good contact off the bat of Bill Ortega, who had a good year at AAA and may inherit that right-handed power spot on the bench.
Well, one of the things about him is he never really had a lot of it. You see the errant throw, so probably an infield single and an E4. But Ortega went to, the fall league, and one of the things that I heard about is that he was always said he was a marginal outfielder, but they felt that he had really developed as an outfielder. He is really a hitter, a Cuban defector. And
here's Saturia. He homered yesterday, and he pops the first pitch up to right center. Boy, there's a ton of wind up there. Catch is made by Gary Matthews Jr. Shows off a good arm, and Ortega holds at second base. He's there with 2 out for Tino Martinez, who's 0 for 2.
Ortega can play good enough defense with his bat. He doesn't have a lot of power, but they feel that maybe he can develop that with a little better hitting technique.
Here's Tino. His numbers from last year, his numbers this spring are not good, and Tony La Russa is concerned only because it appears that Tino Martinez is pressing a little bit. When he first became a Yankee, Martinez was taking over the spot vacated by Don Mattingly. Now he's taking over first base for McGuire, and so far Tino is 3 out of 20, including 0 for 2 today, and a breaking ball. Stays high, ball 1.
Replacing a legend is not that difficult for Tony. Mattingly was the captain of the Yankees and very well thought of. Get a little older, you want to impress your teammates.
Tino Martinez, Alan, I don't know if you know this, but when you find out about it, I'm sure you'll be somewhat impressed. Since he's gotten down here, every night he takes a teammate out to dinner with.
Really?
Every night a different guy. And he spends time with him. A couple times he's been with Eli Marrero, so he's kind of taken Marrero under his wing a little bit. But with every new night comes a new teammate, and they end up going out to dinner, and he tries to let them know more about him, and he gets to know his teammates better that way.
Absolutely. You can see why he's a natural-born leader.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Martinez out in front of it, pops it up. And the count stays 2-2.
Tony's known his family for decades. He must have been something growing up in that Tampa Bay area.
They said of all the talent down there, including Luis Gonzalez, who he was high school teammates with, there was nobody better than Tino Martinez at swinging the bat. Worked in his grandfather's cigar factory every summer after school. Luis Gonzalez worked in that factory with him. He lays off that pitch. The count's full with Edgar Renteria waiting on deck. So when you live in Tampa and you are of Latin descent, you are well aware of guys like Pinella, Tony La Russa, and others. But Tino Martinez knew of Tony well before getting to the big leagues. And then I asked Tino about it early in the spring. I said, how much did that play into you coming to the Cardinals? He said, really, it didn't at all. I knew of Tony, sure, but I knew about this team, and I knew they were a young team that had a chance to get to the World Series, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I called Walt and said, I want to be on that team. And he said, be patient, and it happened. That's outside for a walk, and it's 2 on with 2 out. And Renteria coming to the plate.
Yeah, remember, he had to get rid of a little bit of salary. Traded Dustin Hermanson, and then a phone call to Tino Martinez, and it was done. He's already purchased a home in St. Louis.
Here's Renteria. He's hit the ball hard twice. He's lined to left. He's doubled and scored. And Chen pulled the string. Strike 1. So Ortega on with a hit and the error on the second baseman Volandi on the wild throw. Then Soturia fly to center. Now a walk. This is all after Polanco bounced back to Chen. No balls, 1 strike on Renteria. Got his average up to 260 by the end of the season. It was down in the low 200s for most of the first half of the season. That's strike 2. And Chen, even though it hasn't been pretty in 2 innings, could go through 2, allowing only 1 run, but the Cardinals lead it 2-1. Al, what's Chen doing?
Sometimes you might say he's worried about throwing the next pitch.
Misses. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Chen bothered by Ortega back at second base. Ortega not with much of a lead, hoping to be chased home with something off the bat of Renteria. Klein will be the new Cardinal pitcher. That'll happen in the 7th. The Cardinals will have the lead. What will the lead be as Renteria is talking to himself after fouling that pitch away? Steve Klein talking to Marty Mason, the Cardinal bullpen coach. Mark DeJohn, by the way, is no longer with the big league club as the bench coach. Joe Patini is. So that was a coaching change. It was made from last year. Renteria couldn't pull the trigger. Good fastball from Chen, and the inning is over. First strikeout for Chen. A hit, an error, a walk. 2 left. Cards have left 5, and after 6, they lead the Mets 2-1. A dorky dating show contestant gives an unsuspecting girl the worst date of her life on back-to-back episodes of the Jamie Kennedy Experiment tonight at 7 and 7:30 on WB11. If you haven't seen that show and you like to laugh, you should. That's a good one. Let's go down to Rich Gould, who's with the architect of this pennant-winning team, Walt Jocketty.
And you know what he's doing, Joe? He's doing the impossible. He's actually scoring a spring training game. How's that card look?
Well, right now it's not too bad. We haven't got too many changes in yet, but it'll be a mess before it's over.
Cardinals fans can't wait to see Tino Martinez, Jason Isringhausen, 2 tremendous names that you brought to this ball club. Both of them having good springs.
Yeah, they are, and it's it's been a opportunity for us to kind of all of us to get to see them and get to know them a little bit. But I think they're going to be great additions to the club, and we've seen some good performances with some of our young kids, and we're you know, kind of in the middle part of spring here, where it's still evaluating a few decisions we have to make. But basically, it's time when Tony's trying to get guys ready to start the season.
Who's going to play left field for you, Walt?
Well, that's still a good question. I mean, we're, you know, although Polanco hasn't played there yet, he's going to get a lot of playing time eventually. And it's still, we've been playing Taguchi out there. We've been playing Eduardo Perez, Kerry Robinson. So it's still one of those big decisions we have yet to make, but we've got a couple weeks to do it.
See you around the ballpark the next couple days?
I'll be here all week.
All jockety, guys. Back upstairs.
All right, Rich, thanks. At the end of that play, as Klein gets his first out with McEwing on the ground out. Look at the last season numbers. How about that ERA of 1.80 with all of those appearances that Steve Klein had?
89, third consecutive year, lead the National League in appearances.
Jason Isringhausen took over his old number 44, so Steve Klein went up 5 numbers to 49. Klein still hasn't figured out what the payment's going to be, as Luis Garcia is going to have to beat Bragg, and he cannot. That's Luis Garcia, and we'll talk more about him, Al, as we go along, but he was one of the 3 prospects the Cardinals got when they traded Hermanson to Boston. He's a former pitcher, still learning how to hit, and they really are impressed with the way he looks.
Well, I think when you look at him, the first thing, and it looks like, well, you didn't know where his arm was, but Garcia did get him on the backside, but not until Bragg had touched first base. But Garcia looks like an athlete. He has a lot of pop in his bat. You mentioned he was a former pitcher, and Walt was telling me today that Carl Yastrzemski just raved about him.
Volandia ropes one into left field, and the Mets have 2 on with 1 out.
Good job now.
Steve has given up quite a few hits this spring, but only 1 has crossed home plate.
And by the way, if he does continue to give up a lot of hits, he may want his old number back.
That's right. Or at least drop down 5. Then he can take it away from McKay. It just, you know, it looked like maybe his patented slider, but it kind of just slid. Didn't have any tilt to it. It stayed flat in the same hitting plane.
So now it's Bruce Chen, pretty good athlete. And he's asked to bunt with 2 on 1 out. Throw back down behind the runner, and Bragg gets back. Cardinals have Luther Hackman getting loose in their bullpen. There are a lot of guys that at some point you say, oh yeah, we've got that guy too, and Hackman's one of those who pitched so well for the Cardinals out of their bullpen last year. And then in the lineup, everybody wants to talk about Martinez and Edmonds and Drew, and we need a right-handed power bat. The guy that I think keeps getting looked over or overlooked is Edgar Renteria. Nobody talks about him in the lineup, and if he builds on what he did in the second half of last year, this lineup could be much improved.
I think he just is a money player too.
Anybody who delivers a Game 7 World Series winning hit is a money player.
Well, but he's the kind of guy that you know, when games get a little more important, he shows up.
Klein behind on the count to Chen. The 2-0 count. He's in a spot where he has to throw a strike. Chen is willing to give you an out. Take it. That's backing out of play. 2 balls and a strike.
You know how the psychology of a pitcher, if you're in this situation, you know, the Mets think that they're going to get a good scoring opportunity, but if you're the pitcher, you go, I got an easy out. That's out number 2, and then I can bear down on the next guy and they can't score. They're doing me a favor by bunting.
There's the bunt, third base side. It's a good one. Klein has to make a long throw. Good play. 2 out. Sacrifice is good. 1-4. And it's second and third with 2 away.
After popping a couple balls up, see the barrel's higher. He will kind of jab at it, but he deadened it enough to where it couldn't pop it up into someone's glove.
So at least Chen got the job done, and it's second and third for Gary Matthews Jr., and a hit could put the Mets back on top. It's 2-1 Cardinals. We're in the seventh. Almost time to stretch, and Gary Matthews is hitless. Klein would like to keep it that way. Ball one. Klein may be a little weirder than he was last year. Around the clubhouse, wrestling guys, and he's just got that look in his eye.
Well, you know what scared me? Steve Klein was saying that Jason Isringhausen is really weird.
Well, you got weirdness in stereo at the end of the bullpen.
So maybe it speaks good thoughts that Jason thinks like a left-hander.
Talked to Piazza before the game. I said, how you swinging it? He said, it was really fair. My second spring at bat, I got to face Jason Isringhausen. I said, is he nasty? He said, oh, you have no idea. And Tino Martinez, by the way, told Tony La Russa without prompting that Isringhausen to him was much more difficult to face than Troy Percival, who the Cardinals were interested in trading for from Anaheim. And Isringhausen's making a friend out of a young fan. 3 balls and a strike now on Matthews with Ordonez on deck.
I was out in Arizona a couple weeks ago and had a chance to talk to Art Howe, Jason's former manager with Oakland, and just a positive endorsement, and said once we got this, he was tipping off his pitches. Once we got that resolved, he said we were, you know, I mean, he was just lights out. He was virtually unhittable.
Those first 2 games that he saved in the playoffs last year, division series at Yankee Stadium, with all that had happened in New York, were impressive. Both were 1-run games, and he came on the first night. The crowd going crazy, went through the Yankees 1-2-3. And then the next night, leading by a run, the first 2 guys got on and they never moved. And he's got that ability that if he gets into trouble, he can blow guys away where they don't advance, as opposed to a guy just tricking people, and hitters are putting the bat on the ball and at least making something happen.
Yeah, that's it, Joe, because, you know, when a guy doesn't have overpowering stuff, he can't get away with mistakes. A guy with overpowering stuff can.
The walk loads the bases for Ray Ordonez with 2 out. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinal baseball is a production of Bud Sports and an exclusive presentation of Fox Sports Net. Bases loaded. Ray Ordonez 1 out of 3. 2 out, 2-1 Cardinals. Ball 1 low.
He is right around the plate, but not getting the call.
This will be it for Klein. 1 inning of work today. And that inning is the 7th, and the bases are loaded. That might fall into right field, and it carries out to Ortega. Well, the wind is really holding everything up, and Ordonez flies 1 out to Bill Ortega. Mets leave the bases loaded, have left 7. Cardinals up as it's time to stretch. Cardinal fans, on Sunday, April 14th, the Cardinals play the Astros. It's Coca-Cola T-shirt day and kids opening weekend. All fans 15 and under with a paid admission receive a T-shirt featuring Matt Morris and Mike Matheny, compliments of Coca-Cola. In addition, there'll be special games and festivities in the Southwest Airlines Family Pavilion with opening day events designed just for kids. Sunday, April 14th, a 1:10 game with Houston. Had a nice visit before the game with Nathan Boliva. And he wants to say hi to his parents, Dom and Julie. Here is Mike DeFelice with Mike Coolball waiting on deck, and then Vigna is the scheduled hitter as Hackman continues to get loose for the Cardinals in the bullpen. So Klein's finished. Cardinals up 2-1. And DeFelice hits it well into left field. Bragg is back, circles and has it, 1 out. Go ahead and say it. Any other day, that ball is gonzo.
Yeah, if they really feel Mike DeFelice to swing in the bat like he did a couple years ago, going to contribute quite a bit. We know Morero's got good offensive potential, and Matheny's swinging the bat extremely well.
How amazing is it that you've got a Cardinal team that's picked by quite a few baseball experts to win the World Series or at least get there, and 2 players that the Cardinals lost in the expansion draft to Tampa Bay of all teams are going to be on the team, and 3 former Devil Rays will be on this team. Kerry Robinson and DeFelice, they lost in the expansion draft, and Miguel Cairo.
That's right.
3 ex-Devil Rays making up a good portion of the bench for a team picked to go to the World Series in the National League. And Coolbaugh is trying to get his name on that list. Is 2 for 2. He's on with 1 out. You're watching St. Louis Cardinal baseball on KPLR and WB11. St. Louis. And the St. Louis Cardinals are leading 2-1 in the bottom of the 7th.
Ernie Young's going to pinch hit for Vina.
Young has hit more than 30 home runs in a season in the minor leagues before.
Ernie Young was a big part offensively of the USA winning a gold medal.
That same year he played for the Memphis Redbirds. Throw to first where Coolbaugh resides with 1 out. Young is batting in Vina's spot. Vina was 1 for 3 with a run scored while he was in there. Tony Mota next, 1 on 1 out, and that'll get out of play.
Got to say get well wishes to our good friend Joe Fleming. Everybody knew he had a big heart. Well, he had a little repair work done on that. So Joe, get well, get out to the ballpark as soon as we get back in town.
Get better, Joe. 1 on 1 out, and Young is at the plate now with a 1-ball 1-strike count. So far Ernie Young is 0 for 9. Make it 0 for 12 in 9 games. He's walked twice, struck out twice, but looking for his first hit. The 1-1. A fan favorite stubby clap starts to loosen for the Cardinals out near their bullpen. Even down here, he comes shooting out onto that field, and the fans love it. 3 balls and a strike on Young. There is action for the Mets out in their bullpen.
David Weathers, remember him?
There's Stubby clap.
With Young pinch hitting for Vina, we assume he will see Stubby at second.
David Weathers, former Yankee, former Milwaukee Brewer. The Cubs gave up a couple prospects to get him for their stretch run last year, and the Cubs didn't make it to the postseason, and then they didn't keep Weathers. But they did add Donovan Osborne over the offseason, and the Cubs did add Alan Bennis over the offseason.
I was talking with Walt Jocketty about the injury to Flash Gordon, and he, along with myself, think that it's significant. And he was telling me that the word that he had heard today is that the Cubs are trying to sign Shaw now.
Not a bad idea if you can afford to wait around. If you're a guy like Jeff Shaw and find a team that's in need after something happens either in spring training or early in the year. 3 balls, 2 strikes. We'll see if the Cardinals start Coolbaugh, probably. He's going, and Young fights one off and drops a base hit down the right field line. Coolbaugh will hold at third. Young is on at first, and that'll be the first hit of the spring for Ernie Young. 2 on, 1 out.
Not pretty, but it was effective and nearly a double play to end the inning, but Soka cannot hold on to it. Going back on the ball, goes off his glove, and with the runner moving, it would have been a sure inning-ending double play. Gets by him, and you got runners on the corners and only 1 out.
So another chance for Tony Mota. Bounced into a double play his last time up with 2 on. Struck out his first 2 times and now takes ball 1 low. Miguel Cairo comes into the on deck circle. He'll hit the number 3 spot for the pitcher Klein if it gets there. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two runs on 9 hits for the Cardinals. 2 balls and a strike from Bruce Chen.
Cardinals' 7-3 record is the best in the National League. And the Mets, who have lost twice to the Cardinals already this spring, are 3-7.
Cardinals and Mets will face each other a total of 6 times this spring. Now it's 3-1 on the hitter Mota.
Ground ball right here to Rayon. Here we go.
Tony Mota.
Be selective right here in this 3-1 pitch.
Good opportunity for him, and it now goes full 3-2.
Not exactly the pitch I would have thought you'd be looking for, or location.
You can hear Mitchell Page near the top step of the dugout giving encouragement to Tony Mota. As the 3-2 pitch comes Tony's way, and he delivers into right center field. Cool ball will score. Young goes first to third, and the Cardinals lead 3-1. Tony Mota finally breaks through with a hit, his first of the day, and the Cardinals add to their lead.
Tony's 4th RBI of the spring for the Cardinals. Good piece of hit. Ball down away. Look at that good contact right there. Don't try and pull that pitch. Now watch Ernie Young. It looks like he kind of dekes Matthews a little bit. Looked like he was going to stop at second base. Restarted the engines and no play at all.
And now Miguel Cairo bats.
Now Walt's scorecard is looking like ours.
Yeah, this is a typical spring game now with 1 change after the next, and Vance Wilson, the new catcher who just took over for Piazza, wants to talk to Chen, who's nearing the end of his day. It's Cairo up now with another chance for Bill Ortega, who's on deck.
The Mets' game plan was they only wanted to use 3 pitchers in this game. Hopefully we're only talking about 8.5 innings. There's their 3rd, David Weathers.
1 ball, no strikes. Cairo. That's hard hit and into left field. Cardinals lead 4-1 as Ernie Young comes in to score. Cairo delivers. That's the 4th consecutive single of the inning. Our Auto Tire pinch hitter Miguel Cairo, who will be in that spot plenty of times this season for the big league club. It's a rocket into left field, and Charlie Huff, the pitching coach, will talk to Bruce Chen after he let this one go.
I think, Joe, you and I both like to see a little more of Miguel Cairo. You know, last year when he came to the club late, Tony even felt guilty a little bit, not getting him a lot of bats, but ball kind of jumps off his bat, and he can play numerous positions also.
So he's at first. Mota's at second, and here's Bill Ortega, who's 1 for 1. Down to get it and fouled it back. Ortega last year at Memphis hit .287 with 62 RBIs. Only 6 home runs. 26 doubles. That's into right center field and will slice to the right fielder Sweeney. Both runners tag. Mota tags and goes from second to third, and it's first and third with 2 out for Saturia coming up. Cardinals have 2 in the 7th. They have single runs in the 4th and 5th. The Mets scored in the 2nd on the home run by Burnitz, and that's all. Good pitching today by Andy Benes. Gene Steckschulte, 1 scoreless inning from Klein, although with 2 hits and a walk in the inning. That was close, and Cairo got back. And the new pitcher will be Hackman. Throw to first again. Cardinals, as Al mentioned, have a 7-3 record. If you look at the division, Houston has a 6-3 start this spring. Pirates 500. The Cubs are 4-7 out in Arizona. That's right at Ordonez, who can make things look so easy, and the force out at second to end the inning. The Cards get 2 runs on 4 straight singles, and after 7 lead it 4-1.
This portion of Cardinal Baseball on WB11 is brought to you by Auto Tire. For the very best in tires and service, you ought to go to Auto Tire. Beautiful day here, Joe. Did you see that one report where they're even talking about maybe adding a 3rd team? The Cardinals aren't too happy about that. A 3rd team here to the Jupiter Complex.
I had not heard that. I think it's a done deal that the Marlins will be here after the Expos, but I did not know a 3rd team could be here. Vance Wilson will lead off against the new pitcher, Luther Hackman. And that ovation you heard, I don't even have to look. Stubby Clapp is in the game and is playing second base. There's Luther Hackman, his numbers from last year. And there's Stubby Clapp at second base. And there's ball 1 high from Hackman, who so far this spring has pitched 5 innings, allowed 2 runs on 6 hits.
Coolbaugh stays in the game to play shortstop, and Cairo's over at 3rd.
There's a strike from Hackman. Said this on the radio the other day. You go back a couple of years to that trade that the Cardinals made with Colorado, sending 4 players to the Rockies and getting Darryl Kyle, Dave Veers, and Luther Hackman. 3 guys who at least right now are still with the team, compared to what the Cardinals sent the other way. Biggest name in that group probably Jimenez. Brent Butler, a little infielder that is a pretty good player, but certainly not of the same caliber, Al, as a guy who's basically your #1 starter, Darryl Kyle, although Matt Morris may take that over. Your closer for the last 2 years in Dave Veers, and now a guy who could be a very valuable setup man.
Absolutely. And once again, the good news from this morning, Darryl Kyle pitched 3 simulated innings.
Good pitch to get Vance Wilson 1 out.
And if no problems, then he'll probably get a start on Friday.
Friday would be the day.
And you see tight little slider there for the strikeout. Good location, down and away, off the plate. Can't do any hurt you. That looks a lot neater than ours.
Well, mine's had water spilled on it twice.
That one's getting messed up.
Blown out the door. Here's Mark Sweeney. Everybody who got to know Mark when he was a Cardinal roots for him wherever he goes, and he's moved on since the Cardinals to Cincinnati, Milwaukee, now the Mets. Surprised he hasn't had more of an opportunity to stick with a big league club. Maybe not as a starter, but he's got a good swing.
He's had great numbers in the minor league system. Very good hitter. Good guy on your club. Understands his role. But he felt like with Milwaukee, you know, they couldn't win, so they were going to promote their own people.
2 balls and a strike on Sweeney, with Tocco waiting on deck. 4-1 the Cardinals lead. They've out hit the Mets 11-6. They're trying to beat the Mets for the 3rd time this spring. Bottom fell out of that. 2-2.
That's it.
Sweeney on 2-2. Couple Couple of tricky hops for Stubby Clapp, but he throws on to get the out. 2 away. And yet again, after a very good pitching day yesterday, after a very impressive 4-inning stint from Woody Williams a couple of days ago, the Cardinals are getting good pitching again from their group that started with Andy Bennis, who allowed 1 run on 3 hits, struck out 4, and walked none.
Joe, simple observation. Only 1 walk allowed by the Cardinals, but everyone pitching ahead in the count.
As Hackman does here with Toka. No balls, 1 strike.
Dave Duncan will preach that over and over and over of how easy or how much easier it is to pitch if you have pitch 1 strike.
One ball, 1 strike. Two out, nobody on, and the next from Hackman. Nobody's more busy in these spring trainings than a pitching coach, trying to not only evaluate the guys that he has and the guys that he knows and get them the opportunities to get loose and ready for the season, but then to work some of the new guys in and some of the kids and give them enough work and not overwork people and work guys on the side. He has long days down here in Florida. Crushed through the left side. Crisp shot through the left side. Toka's on. He's 1 out of 4. And there's Jim Leland, who, does it surprise you at all that he hasn't slipped back into somebody else's dugout as a manager?
Well, he says those days are over. He's very content to scout for the Cardinals from his home as Pittsburgh, but I think there's one interesting scenario that could develop.
Boston?
No, Detroit. That's where he played. His playing and his managerial career started in Detroit organization before he went to the White Sox with Tony. And if Phil Garner, were to lose his job, Dave Dombrowski's kind of taken over as the president of Detroit.
0-2 on McEwing.
A lot of people wonder if Randy Smith, their general manager, will stay, and Phil Garner, would you go back to somebody like a Jim Leland, who has ties with Dombrowski and their world championship with the Florida Marlins?
How crazy is it to think that Boston right now doesn't have a manager?
It's extremely interesting. I would not be surprised if Felipe Alou ends up there.
1 on, 2 out, no balls, 2 strikes. 1-2 on McEwing. Cardinals also have Travis Smith scheduled to pitch today.
Yeah, Felipe was talked to before Kerrigan was hired, but it was with a thought is, okay, you manage 1 year and then Kerrigan's going to take over.
Should end the inning. Stubby Clapp kicks it, picks it, throws it, inning over. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Cardinals in charge. They lead it 4-1. Well, our Cutter and Buck apparel is provided by Ad Creations. If you want your logo on any item, do what we do. Call our friends at Ad Creations, 314-621-3840. If you want people to remember your name, remember theirs. 4-1, bottom of the 8th. New pitcher, David Weathers. He's always pitched well against the Cardinals, no matter what uniform he has worn. And now he wears the uniform of the Mets after Bruce Chen went 3 innings and allowed the Cardinals 3 runs. Here's Luis Garcia, the new hot prospect, and he takes a hack and fouls it, strike 1.
Watt Garcia has a little bit of a long swing, but they like the way he makes contact and definite power.
No balls, 2 strikes. Someday he will shed that number 86. There's strike 3. Good pitch from Weathers. 1 out. That'll bring in Stubby Clapp. They love him here. Just listen. They don't even have to say his name. There's a strike on the outside corner.
We got 2 of the hardest swingers in the National League here.
Stubby takes a big swipe at it. So far this spring, he is 2 for 12. Two and out. Two and one. Stubby Clapp, wherever he's been in the minor leagues, always scores a ton of runs. Pretty good defensively, moves around well, mainly a second baseman, and that's what really works against him. To be a big league utility player, he really plays only second base, and that keeps him off this team. In other words, he can't play short.
Right. Earlier when we were talking about utility guys, you have to play one of 2 positions. One is short and the other one's catch. If you can do those things, you've got some versatility.
DeFelice, he's had some good swings. He's flied deep to left. He's reached on a fielder's choice and flied to center.
Let's also give him a little credit the way the pitchers have performed today.
For both sides, Komiyama, Chen, now Weathers. And for the Cardinals, 4 guys. Starting with Andy Benes, Steck, Schulte, Klein, and now Hackman. And it looks like Hackman will go back out and try to finish it. Nobody's warming up for the Cardinals in the bullpen, even though Travis Smith, a little right-hander, was on the list. Now it's 0-2 on DeFelice. The Mets in the 9th inning will have the bottom 3 in their lineup, starting with Darren Bragg, then Volandia. The first 2 hitters. Here's an 0-2. Almost tied him up. 1 ball, 2 strikes. With 2 out, nobody on, the 1-2 pitch is grounded through the right side. So DeFelice is on with a hit.
It's very difficult today where clubs carry 11 or 12 pitchers to have 3 catchers, but I'm excited to see what Eli Marrero can do as more of a utility man than say really catcher.
In fact, lately, over the past week, Eli's had very little time behind the plate, and when he's been in the lineup and in games, he's been starting in left to right field, and we know that Tony La Russa's not scared to put him in center. Cool ball, hits it fair past third down toward the corner, and it'll make it into the corner. DeFelice chugging around third. They're going to bring him to the plate. Play at the plate, safe as the throw gets away, and the Cardinals lead 5-1. They had all day to get DeFelice at home, but the throw got away from Vance Wilson. And Mike Coolbaugh in 3 at-bats is 3 for 3.
That's how you make a statement. Coolbaugh is swinging that bat, and look at the rips, the ball jumping off down into the left field corner. Darren Bragg gets it back in. He misses the initial cutoff man, short hops McEwing, and it looked like Vance Law was just trying to make a sweep tag before he caught the ball. They would have had him out by 20 feet.
Now pitch up around the ear of Ernie Young for ball 1. That's to the left of the shortstop, Ordonez. He's had a long day, makes that play. Ernie Young is out. So are the Cardinals, but not before they add a run on a double by Mike Coolbaugh. It's 5-1. Welcome back. Top of the 9th inning. 5-1. The Cardinals lead. Our Bud Light play of the game brought to you by Bud Light. For the taste that never fills you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. The bunt by DeFelice back in the 5th inning. Bruce Chen came on, threw to third. It was the wrong decision. And in that 5th inning, the Cardinals ended up getting a run to take the lead, and they have not let that lead slip away. They got 2 more in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, lead at 5-1, and Darren Bragg, first up in the 9th inning, takes a strike on the outside corner from Luther Hackman. The numbers for Bragg today: he has a hit, thrown a guy out at the plate, threw out Drew earlier in the game. He'll be followed by Vollandia, the number 8 hitter. Crowd has thinned a little bit, but this is by far the biggest day attendance-wise that we've had so far this spring. Bragg pops it up into shallow left, and Coolbaugh, the shortstop, has it. 1 out.
In this crowd, Pastor Randy and Mary Louise Fullerton want to say hi to all the Fifi Baptist Church family.
Mike Schaefer, Chris Bartell, Matt Bartell, Allie Healy say hi to friends and family back home down here on spring break. One out. Here's Vollandia. Cardinals trying to add to their winning record, and as Vollandia is hit by the pitch, Cardinals will be 8-3 if they can hang on here.
So I think it says something, because Tony obviously would like this team geared for wins. And here's that first pitch, running in, hitting Vollandia on the shoulder. But you know, they're getting the work in that everybody needs, and not going for the juggler every time they play a game, but the wins just mount up.
Here's Snead with a ground ball to first. Good play, Garcia. The double play ends the day, and the Cardinals win it, a final of 5-1. Essex Snead, who we have seen spring after spring come in and pinch run, hits it hard to first, and Luis Garcia made a very good play for a guy learning to play first base.
Well, we also saw the remnants of a very good pitching arm, but as he kind of caught that ball, not easy for the first baseman to make that throw, and he had something on it and made a perfect throw for the tag from Coolbaugh.
Well, another real good pitching day for the Cardinals. Bennis, Steckschulte, Klein, and Hackman. Cardinals win it 5-1. We'll come back after this to wrap it up. Well, Tony La Russa has to be pleased with the way his team is playing, and in particular with the way his team is pitching.
I think there's a lot of reason why people are predicting this Cardinal team to go a long way, if not all the way, through the World Series. And Tony's got his troops going in the right direction this early in spring training. It starts with pitching.
Steckschulte the winner, Chen the loser, Hackman the save, a 5-1 final. Cards are 8-3. We'll come back and say goodbye after this. Cardinal baseball on WB11 was brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. By Southwest Airlines, bringing people together with lower fares. By your local St. Louis Chrysler Jeep dealers, the official automotive sponsor of the Cardinals on WB11. And by Dobbs, St. Louis's #1 choice for tires and automotive service. Our final score this afternoon, a 5-1 Cardinal victory. They're now 8-3 as they out-hit the Mets 13-7, and they've defeated the high-priced Mets 3 times this spring in 3 tries. Our next Cardinal telecast will be March 30th. The Cardinals at Memphis against the Redbirds at 2 o'clock St. Louis time. This copyrighted telecast has been an exclusive presentation of Fox Sports Net in association with Bud Sports. For Al Raboski, for Rich Gould, For Tom Mee, for Kent Sample, for Doug Stanton, for everybody in the town of Jupiter, Florida, for the whole state, so long, goodbye, adios.